Trusting your promise, I open up just for your release. Though I'm so fragile, your steady hands reassure me. It's scary, but I'm ready. Prepare me for surgery. Cut me open till I shed old skin. Let me show you where I'm broken so we can begin again.
So this is my version of that classic 90s soft matte face. It's very supermodel coated, very clean, but still sculpted. Today I'm going to show you how to get this look, focusing on the skin, contour, and powders. And today I'll be using MAC's Reformulated pressed powders. I found a shade that works too good for brown skin with neutral olive undertones. As you can see, we're going in with hydrated skin. I'm using Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin. It's like a yummy glow serum. It's going to lightly hydrate the face. It's a little tacky, and honestly, I'm not too picky when it comes to hydrating my skin. Honestly, sometimes I skip primer because it's not always needed. I don't always use it, and my base still turns out flawless. For that classic 90s brow, that very Sam Fine-esque look, the brows are lightened. I bleached them, but I'm toning them down a bit with the Huda Brow Gel. It's in a black color, a natural black color, but it still gives that nice, simplified brow. Nothing too dark or harsh on the face, and I just love this technique. For that nice, clean, even complexion, especially around the mouth, I do go in with a light peach corrector or a regular concealer that has a more of a peachy tone to it. You don't have to go too dark depending on, your shade range. You can go deeper or lighter, whichever necessary. But this step really does even out the tones around my mouth because I find that some powders can kind of like highlight the discoloration around the mouth. It usually pulls more too cool or too grayed out, and this is going to keep it even on the lower half of your face. I don't have a clip of this, but I do like to go on with a hydrating spray or hydrating eye mask before applying any products under the eye because that area is so sensitive, it's so thin, and the less layers you add under the eye, the better. I feel like every time I brush my makeup and I'm just throwing stuff on, I have less product under my eye, it looks way better than the days where I'm, just applying a little bit too much product and then it ends up separating. So just be cautious of that. So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to blend out all that color corrector, and then we're going to go in and set the nose with some translucent powder just to control some of the oil. Today I'll be using Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Foundation in the shades 15N and 16N. Now both of these shades are categorized as a medium deep or medium tan deep neutral olive undertone. These days I've been more into hydrating foundations or maybe like an oil-based foundation to kind of give my skin a little bit of that hydration that it needs because y'all, I think my skin is dry. When I filmed this video on TikTok and posted it to Threads, a lot of people were saying that women in the 90s weren't wearing as many layers of makeup as they do today. And I just think that's so ironic to say because I was able to achieve a very similar look using multiple products. So it's hard to believe that they weren't using layers of products even way back then. When people recreate these looks, they're always photos of people that are, part of Hollywood. Now, I do believe there has always been women who participated and were knowledgeable about makeup application, but when we reference these looks worn in the 90s sitcom shows like The Jamie Foxx Show, Moesha, The Parkers, or movies like Babs with Halle Berry or Romeo Must Die starring Aaliyah, all those looks required layers of makeup. When I define my nose contour, I like to reference the 90s nose contour, and that's when we take the contour shades from the top of the brow down the sides or down the bridge of the nose. And this technique really elongates and creates a more prominent shape. So for me, it's not about making the nose smaller, it's just defining that shape. It's like finding your light. I love to combine the old techniques with something new, and as you play in makeup and play with your features, you'll start to kind of curate your own routine. So I've also added this little hack, which is defining the philtrum. I like to define the philtrum, the cupid's bow, and I really like to emphasize the hollowness of my cheeks by really patting in the contour right in the groove of my cheekbone. To blend everything out, you want smaller brushes, smaller dense brushes. I try to be semi-neat when I'm blending. Sometimes I overdo it, but we just want to make sure that those lines that we created are shadows. So there should be a softness. I believe the softness, the soft grayness of film, the old technology fooled people into believing that they were using less, when in reality, it's really about the application and technique. Whether it was 90s supermodels like Tyra Banks or Beverly Peele or drag icons like RuPaul, makeup was always an art form. Multiple products were needed. And I think a lot of the discourse centered around the whole no makeup and the makeup artist horror stories are a result of girls' lack of makeup education and internalized phobias. I do not think they understand the basic makeup application, and seeing all the products used, it causes them to have literal identity episodes in the makeup chair. It's so crazy. I've seen girls have complete meltdowns on TikTok, and I'm like, girl.
I find that pressing your contour in one area will give you the hollowing contoured effect that you like, instead of like doing all of this. Keep it focused in one area and just kind of pat it. I like this brush. This is, I think I got it from TikTok.
So the tones that I'm using for the Creamy Radiant Concealer by NARS is peachy. I've been into the whole peachy under eye versus yellow. I just don't think the yellow under eye looks that great on me. I just don't think that's the correct tone for me. I would prefer something more on the peachy, pinkier side, preferably peach. And ginger and biscuit definitely have those peachy undertones. Crazy thing about it, I was never really a NARS concealer girl. I just got turned on to this. Not even turned on. I just tried it one day because I'm on their PR list. You know, they send me things from time to time. So I just tried it on a whim one day. And y'all, I like it. Oh my gosh. I should have been put this on.
I'm going in with a little bit of NARS. Their soft matte complete concealer in the shade Cannelle. I usually use ginger, but I don't know where it is right now, so we're using this today. And I'm just focusing this right in the inner corner here and a little bit there, just to kind of give it more of a brightening effect. I would say don't go too heavy with this product. She is on the thicker side, not super thick, but you know, I find that the less product you put under your eyes, the better. I'm trying to make it thin. I know it's so fun to just dig in the pot and just put it all on your face, but let's be intentional about it. I know that Nara said that she was matte, but I feel like she's like a soft matte. It's not too dry. And honestly, I've been kind of staying away from like super matte products on the face because your girl getting old. She getting old, rabbit getting old. We need some hydration. That gives a nice little soft highlighted effect. And if you want a brighter under eye, we can always build the brightness up with the powders.
So I mentioned earlier that I like to define the philtrum and the cupid's bow, and so you've seen me do the contour. I like to go back in with the highlight and I highlight that area as well. And I don't just put a whole bunch of concealer there. I like to put the little individual lines and I like to blend them out that way, because when you're intentional about the placement, it acts like a highlight and it kind of reminds me of that very deep philtrum cupid's bow look that Rihanna has. I think it's very pretty. I discovered this when I do my celebrity inspired looks. I included this when I did my Aaliyah or a Rihanna look, and I just really liked it, and I never stopped.
Who needs to surge when you have makeup? Well, sometimes you still need to surge, but right now, I did one eye off camera, but we've set this eye, and let me show you how I did it. We're gonna make sure that everything is nice and blended. What I like to do, I use an assortment of tools. Going back with a little beauty sponge, it's damp. You don't want your sponge to be too wet because it will pick up the product and it won't blend it. It'll just be picking it up and making it patchy. So make sure that this is damp, not too wet. If it's too wet, squeeze it out, make sure it's damp. So go up under here, blend her out. It's essentially making a little sheer under your eye so that it can blend and be creaseless before we set it. Today I will be using kimchi's powder. I'm gonna preload my brush.
So right before you set your under eye, you just want to make sure that you just want to make sure that you blend all the creases out. Make sure that you have a nice smooth surface before you set it, because you don't want to set creases. So, and I've already preloaded my brush. So that first layer is just kind of like, it's to get the first initial set. And then after that, I'm going to go in with a triangle puff and I'm going to further set that under eye, just to make sure that we have everything set so nothing moves and nothing creases, because I already have creases under my eyes and I have to do this to make sure that there is no places, no crevice unset And this kimchi powder is amazing.
This is the part where I typically set my face with a pressed powder. Usually I use Fenty Beauty in the shade at 360, 345, 350, one of those, or 370. I can use one of those. Today we're going on with the MAC Studio Fix Foundation, pressed powder foundation in the shade C8. This is the new formulation. I set this area, and so far I'm really liking the color. It doesn't have that reddish undertone. This is a good color. I was going to use NC 45.5, but I think I like C8 a little bit more. I can compare those two shades in another video if you want me to. I don't know. I might not even add this to the video, but I'm just letting y'all know now. This is C8 MAC Studio Fix powder foundation. Do y'all want a video just solely with the MAC stuff? Let me know. Ooh, yeah, I think I like that. Like, yeah. Ooh, I'm using a dense brush. I'm just patting it kind of like that, because she does have a little bit more fallout, but I don't really care about that. And we're just patting that on like this. Big brush. And I think she looks good. I think she looks good. I think that's a good color, right?
So it's been a couple months now, and I've been using this MAC powder consistently, and I love her. It's reformulated, but y'all, it's so good. She does have a little bit more fallout than the original, but she still has that nice, soft, matte blurring. It does not settle into my fine lines or anything like that. This is a good powder, and I love to go over the translucent powder with a pressed powder with color, because it gets rid of that ashiness, and when I don't do this step, I can always tell. Now C8, this shade is a little bit darker, but the undertone is like perfect. I'm willing to make that sacrifice, and because I'm using it on top of that powder that kind of has like a white cast, it evens it out. This is a olive neutral tan medium deep girl's friend. Like, this is a great color.
If only they had C8 in a foundation shade, this would be the perfect color for me, because I don't have a really good shade in the MAC foundation. I know y'all was asking, but I don't. NC 45 is just a little too red on my skin. My skin is neutral. I can even do maybe a neutral, warm, olivey kind of tone.
So the MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade C8 does have a sister in the MAC Studio Finish liquid foundation. Now, if y'all want, I can do a video using the powder, the liquid, and maybe a couple of the MAC concealers to a whole MAC face. How does that sound? I was using this kimchi powder that I customized myself as a peachy toned pressed under eye, but I found a very similar product from MAC in the shade C.45. This is like the perfect peachy bright under eye that's like a happy medium. It's not too bright and it's not too subtle. It's perfect. For the brows, we're keeping it clean and simple. I like to just follow the natural brow shape that I have right now. My brows are fully grown in. We color corrected them, and we're just going to fill them in slightly and highlight the brow bone. That's like the key to these 90s looks. I love the highlighted brow bone. We're keeping it matte, keeping it bright and simple and clean. Now let's get into the sculpting. That's my favorite part. I love this trio from One Size. Now, I believe I used the medium and the deeper one. Maybe I forget which one. I have two of the mediums from One Size. I don't remember which one I have because one of them I broke. But the shades that they have in those trios is perfect. So we're just going in and we're, warming the face up, sculpting it where we need it. And one thing about it, y'all, when you're wearing a frontal, do not put that bronzer on your forehead, like right where the lace and your forehead skin meets. Do not put the bronzer there. It's going to make it look so visible. And this is why it's also important to tint your lace with lace mousse.
Ooh, that looks so soft and beautiful.
So this is towards the end of the video. This is going to be part 1. Part 2 is going to include the eyeshadow and the lip combo. So stay tuned for that. Bye.